Welcome to the Iron Table, where iron sharpens iron. So should men sharpen men. I am your host, Bryant, and I'm joined by my brothers, Keith, Danny, and Steve. We pull up the chair, we keep it real at the table. We speak with grace and weight. We are your waiters, bringing you truth with a side of humor, and loaded with accountability and thought.
All right. So, welcome to the Iron Table. You might think we started late, but we're actually starting on time, on our time. So we're going to get right into it. I'm your host, Bryant, and of course, I got just two out of the three brothers, Keith and Steve. Unfortunately, Danny is not feeling good today. We send positive thoughts, well wishes, and prayers that he recovers from whatever it is he's going on, but he probably caught it from me because I had it earlier this week. Before we get into it, I just want to make sure that we tell everybody that, if you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email to tablemics@gmail.com. Or if you're watching live right now, you can just jump in the chat. We will post your comments as long as it's not derogatory to us or talking about our mamas, because we won't post that. But we want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to say their piece. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Just search for The Iron Table. All right, fellas. It's been about, what is it? I guess 2 weeks since last time we went live. So you know how we like to start out, what's transpired since the last time we all got a chance to sit at the table. Doesn't matter the order. And everyone, if you're wondering where Steve's lovely face is, he said he does not want to be on camera. He's being shy today. So
boycott until you change that intro.
I don't understand. Steve is a long E. So of course the artist is going to hold that. So
I feel
just
like
he's willing to hold you.
I feel like he's.
Well, just don't look. The only way you know is if you're looking at his. Nah, but all right, fellas. Actually, I'll start off this time. So, because I know a couple people are wondering, what is this on the side of my face? So let me give you a background. About 2 weeks ago, I was in Nebraska. Work, I do public health. So I was out just checking out one of the programs that I support. And I stayed, and I'm going to name their name. I stayed at the Best Western Hotel in Omaha, Nebraska. I know you're shaking your head. No, I stayed there, and that was cool. First night, no problems. I got in, went to bed, woke up, had continental breakfast, went to the site. Everything was fine. It was the second night, and what I learned is that some hotels do not clean every night. They figured if you're going to be there for a couple of nights, what's the point, Now, I'm thankful that they had more than one towel and washcloth because, as Black people, we have a body cloth and we have a face cloth. But okay, so I get up the second morning, I go to brush my teeth, get ready, and then I feel something on the side of my face. I'm like, what? And it was, see, look, I don't even know what side it was because it didn't belong to me. But there was a long white hair on the side of my face. I pulled it off as if it was like a CSI. I was like, what in the world is this? And I know that I went to bed by myself. Omaha tried to get a brother. They tried to. I was like, no, no, you're not planting no evidence on me. Jesus. I woke up by myself, and I used the same pillow, so I don't know how I didn't get it the first night, but the second night there was some hair on me that did not belong to me. So I then got sick.
That's how
Apparently it
you
was
got sick.
contagious.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so I had a foreign object on my body. So I called Keith to tell him, the day it happened, and this in his naturally supportive way, he laughed so hard at me. I was like, man, I'm coming to you just a shell of a man, broken, trying to understand, make sense of how a long white strand of hair was on the side of my face. Woke up by myself. I had to check the locks and make sure they were still engaged. So that's what happened to me. Other than that, just trying to overcome something, but just let you know that, I'm telling everybody, check your hotel rooms. Don't just sleep on the first side of the pillow. Flip it a couple of times. Shake off the dust or something. It's not just the best Western, but we got to be careful now out there. Yeah, but that's about it. That's happened. I've been out sick for most of the week, and now I'm back. So, all
I
right.
ain't been doing too much, just trying to keep my sanity. But I am blessed, nevertheless.
Cool.
I will second that. Keeping my sanity as well as getting some rest in. Yes, this is much needed. Self care is definitely a must. It's definitely a must.
Cool. Well, today or this evening, we're going to do something a little different. I was talking to the guys earlier this week and shared a link, which they told me off camera, offline, that they did not watch. So we're going to watch it together, and I'm going to ask them a couple of questions about it. It's not about Jesus.
It's gonna make me have nightmares. All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to share it. I'm going to see where we go from there. All right. So I'm going to that little black mouse, and let's go.
My brother was loving, kind. I'm sorry.
Kiana
I'm
Daniels
sorry.
is describing how she knew her brother, Maurice Police say he was driving a van on July 5th that was involved in a carjacking on July 4th. Family members say it doesn't add up for them.
They're saying that he carjacked. He wasn't that type of person. He wasn't that type of person.
He wasn't in the streets.
He
wasn't in the streets at all.
He was a working man.
He was not in the streets. He was not in the streets. My brother was very paranoid. With streets and guns and stuff like that. This is not making sense to us.
This is not making sense to us.
And we want answers.
Police say they followed Daniels for almost 20 minutes before he stopped on Clifton Avenue. Police body camera footage shows them ordering him to get out. Daniels can be seen putting his hands up as police attempt to break the glass. Police say the footage then shows him lower a hand before officers can be heard yelling gun. Police then opened fire on Daniels.
You have 6 officers who perceive things very differently. I think you have to put in context that the one individual sitting in the car was reaching for a gun, had a gun in his hand, and had an officer who did not have his weapon out standing right next to him. So I can't tell you what the officers thought, but I have to believe what they thought, and what they did was what they believed was right.
Police say some 70 shots were fired from 6 officers. They say a BB gun was recovered from the van.
I feel like that's assassination. 70 shots for one guy with his hands up? Come on, somebody, we have to get some answers from somewhere. We're going to gather here today so
All right, I just wanted to stop it there as we try to understand technology. Apologize if anyone heard any echoes. I'm still trying to understand this technology. So the gist of the story is there was a gentleman that was pulled over by police. The vehicle was allegedly involved in a carjacking. Not sure if the vehicle was stolen or if they're saying that this person was a part of it. But unfortunately, the person was pulled over and there was at least, was it 60 shots, 60 to 70 shots that, and the person was killed by police officers. Unfortunate situation. I don't think at any point in time that the crime justified, ending his life. While they did find a BB gun inside of the car, I believe the gentleman had his hands up and probably reached down, who knows for what. And it's unfortunate. And this isn't the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. But it had me thinking really throughout the week, which kind of brought the title is what happens when we do all that we're taught and still. And when I left still with an ellipsis at the end, because we don't know what and still, usually bad stuff still happens. And we're, frankly, we're kind of tired of it. So I wanted to ask the guys, because at least the two have worked inside of a prison system, and we're all Black men. Kind of your thoughts after hearing something like that. And then I just have only two questions, which will kind of wrap around, men, Black men, having to navigate this world, seen as a threat, working with police. And let me say this now. I'm a son of a police officer. Dad was a police officer and a correctional officer. Oh, goodness, what in the world is going on? Yep. Okay. That's not built-in music. He was a police officer, correctional officer. And so I sympathize with our armed forces. And I believe that we do need armed forces. But I also believe that there are some individuals that utilize a badge incorrectly. There are some times where officers need some type of training, reoccurring training, that if they're involved in a shooting, that they need to go counseling, because a loss of a life is a loss of a life, no matter who's the one pulling the trigger. It's still a tragic moment. But I wanted to get y'all ideas or your thoughts on what you just heard, and then we'll talk about, the talk and how that has kind of shaped our community, especially for Black and brown and men. So I'll let one of y'all say something. I know how I felt. I thought it was excessive, but
So I'll just say this: two scenarios. You being stopped and you have a weapon on you, whether it's a BB gun or 22 or 9mm gate, whatever it may be, a weapon on you, and being stopped, and you don't reach for your weapon. You tell the police officers that, hey, maybe I have a gun. Maybe you don't tell them, but you're not reaching for that weapon. You don't reach for that weapon and they shoot you. That's 100% wrong. But the second scenario is if you are being stopped and you have a weapon on you and you reach for that weapon. Yeah, it may be excessive, but at that point, you're putting your hands in somebody else's life when it comes to that. When I know you were talking about things that we've been taught to do. If you're a holder of any type of weapon, you get stopped. You're supposed to tell the officer, hey, I have a weapon on me. I have that. That's what we've been told to do. But like I said, two different scenarios. If he didn't reach for that weapon, it's 100% wrong. But if he did reach for that weapon, you're left at the devices of what these people that want to go home to their family have to think about, what they have to do. Yeah, definitely. Still excessive. But again, each particular person hearing those shots, they don't know where those shots are coming from. They don't know those shots. All they hearing is gun, gun, gun. And maybe those shots are coming from the person inside that car. They don't know. But still, there may be some training that still needs to be involved. But again, if and only if that person is reaching for a weapon as a law enforcer is drawing down on you, and you reach for that weapon, you at their mercy at that point. Whether it's they shoot 60 times or they shoot 6 times. But if he didn't reach for that weapon, that's 1,000% wrong. 1,000% wrong.
I hear you, and I agree with the you don't you try to be as transparent as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, you know, what's your take on it?
Fatigue, man. I mean, this is not a new. It's just a different face, different situation, same story. One of the examples of someone who did everything right and still died was Philando Castile. And we know, I mean, again, that made headlines. And there are many others who have done the same, who did what the police asked or did what authorities asked. And they're, and it did not end well. So it takes away our ability to believe that even when we do the right thing, that it's going to end well. But we know when we don't do the right thing, like Steve said, we can make matters worse. But my issue is this. A lot of people who are non-melanated with weapons going to churches, going to schools, going to federal buildings, and they don't come out with looking like Swiss cheese. They don't come out with all these bullet holes.
They get fed.
They get fed. They get taken. They don't. Some of them didn't even get shackled right away. Now, some of them killed themselves, but even if they didn't, some of these, there are times where the excessive force is unnecessary. That's my issue. Now, if somebody's breaking the law and they are dead wrong, and the police have to take them in, because when we want the police, we call them because we want help, and we want them to arrest the person that's posing the threat. But my issue is, again, we see a disproportionate when it comes to the level of violence. There's rubber bullets used, sandbags used in other communities, tasers even.
Yeah.
But even with tasers, we were much quicker. I mean, some of the reports show that there in some cities they were a lot quicker. They were a lot easier used on people, on melanated people than any other. Yeah, people of color than any other. Like, so the excessive force, and I believe some people really believe that, or some people, it's either the training they did receive or the lack of training they didn't receive, but it has become acceptable in our community, and it's not okay. It's not.
So let me ask you this: we've mentioned the term excessive force. What, and this is for each of you, what is excessive force to you?
I think that could be looked at in so many different ways. It could be looked at in so many different ways when we're talking about, because here's the thing. Somebody come into my house, I'm going to blow your brains out. I don't care what you're doing. You're in my house. You're not supposed to be there. Your life goes. Your life, you're done. That's probably considered excessive. I will go to jail for that. And countless people have gone to jail for killing people that just step in their house or run out of their, they're in their house and they're still running. They get shot in the back. You go to jail for that. And that's considered excessive. I don't think that's excessive. You're in my house and you are now running the risk of whatever, I want to do because you're in my house. But according to the law, that's excessive. So my thing is, when we're talking about according to, there's the law, and then that's just sometimes then it's also then what we feel. So there's two types of excessive, what the law is and what we feel. So what I feel, certain things can be done. Yeah, they should be done. Maybe we do employ rubber bullets if the police department has the money to do it. And first and foremost, second of all, in that line of work, with dealing with the public and the people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, you trying to go home. And as reckless as people are, again, two scenarios. If you didn't reach for that gun or that BB gun, that weapon, hey, that's wrong for them to be excessive like that when there was no threat. But if you did, so and my thing is, it's like if somebody's reaching for a gun, they're about to rob you, and they're reaching for a gun. Are you thinking in that moment, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot him in his pinky, or I'm just gonna shoot him in his hand just to wound him, just to stop him? No, if there's a threat to your family or to your safety or those around you, you're thinking about putting that person down. You're not thinking about. So my thing is, again, if this person is swinging back and about to try to hit you, yeah, okay, taking your gun out and doing something, or just defending yourself with your hands, yeah, whatever it may be. But if you try to shoot, if you're shooting somebody and they're running away or whatever, yeah, that's excessive. That's definitely according to the
Yeah,
law.
you just let them run.
Okay.
Let 'em run away. Yeah.
But again, if you are being given a directive and you reach for a weapon, my thing is, who's to say like, hey, you know what? I don't know if this person's going to end my life tonight. I don't know if that's a BB gun. I have training BB guns that people have saw and did not know that it was not the real thing. There are thousands of BB guns out here that look like the exact replica of a firearm.
So let me ask you this. Then, okay. Is there, I mean, I've thought about this before. Like if you go out, not that you're looking for trouble, but you're carrying trouble with you, then while it's not your fault,
What you mean?
it could have been prevented. So what about that? Because I mean, he had a BB gun. We don't know why he had it. Maybe he felt like he needed to defend himself, in the area that he was. I mean, and no shade to Baltimore where this story was, but there are some parts of Baltimore that is, a little bit rougher. But every place has a rough place. What were you saying, Q?
Now,
No,
if he had,
what I'll say is this: how many people who are non-melanated are taught to shoot guns at age 10, 11, 12?
Exactly.
They like, again. So having the gun now, if he's flashing it or showing it as a real gun, and he has people thinking that again, when people do that, because there are people who do that, they'll pop that little orange clip right off the tip of the nose. Right off the tip,
it's a BB gun.
And then that right there, that makes it illegal to have on your persons when you are out in the public. You can do whatever you want at home, and the ones that I have never even came with the orange clip. You're not supposed to bring those out into that's for training, but they look so real. Guess what happens? They're mistaken for being real, and at that point, your life is out of your hands at that point, because nobody's stopping to say, hey, is that a BB gun? Is that a BB gun? Or is that a real gun? Nobody's doing that. If you're about to get robbed and somebody bring out a gun, they say, hey, hold on. Is that a BB gun? Or is that nobody's doing that. No, you see a threat and you're assessing it for what it is. So again, talking about the law, you ain't even supposed to have that like that. You're not supposed to have that like that just out there. You can have it at home, but you can't have it. You can't have it like that.
No, I know, like if you're going from, say, if you're leaving your house and you're going to the range, you're supposed to have your gun and the ammo separate in separate spaces.
Exactly.
And I think we as not to defend, I'm not defending, what happened, but I also believe that we need to know the rules, the laws, and we also need to also think the what ifs. What if I'm pulled over? I don't need because most people, I'll say in Maryland, that while there is a concealed carry, there are laws that almost make it impossible to carry unless you are a police officer, some type of law enforcement. But you can't carry it around schools. You can't be near, I guess, say churches. There's some other places that you can't be. And here in Maryland, they're like every other corner. So if you're carrying it, what's you're kind of setting yourself up for the what if you get pulled over. What I'm saying is that if that happens, we need to know what to do and what not to do, because the talk, and we'll get to the talk was only what happens if you get pulled over, almost like if you driving in the wrong neighborhood.
Again, my question still is, even if it was an actual gun, does it warrant, and I'm not there, like I said, I don't know what warranted 60 to 70 shots. And according to the video, of what they say is true and his hands are up, what warranted, even with a gun, 60 to 70 shots?
100%.
Yeah, that's the excessive part for me, is that you got 6 people.
So what would be it not excessive? 1 or 2? Because here's the thing. Because here's the thing. When we're talking about excessive and we're talking about end result, right? 60 shots killed. The people that was protesting the ICE protest, they were trying to drive away. I think that was 1 or 2 shots.
Yeah,
Dead too. Yep. That wasn't, so my thing is that wasn't excessive. Still the end result though, they're dead. So again, when we're talking about excessive, end result would have been end result, because a well-placed shot, he was probably dead, maybe shot 3 or 4. If it was 3 or 4 shots, then what would be the, I'm just saying, I'm when I say probably, I'm just saying, like, what if he was already dead, shot 3 or 4? Because these people in ICE, it was headshots. So they got shot, and they got shot in the head, or shot, and that was it. So my thing is, at that point in time, whether if it wasn't excessive, then what would be the issue then? They shot and killed him? Yeah, versus it being excessive? The end result is still the end result.
Right, it's still fatality, but there is both are wrong, and to some degree, when you don't have to go with that first. In some of these ICE situations, they didn't have to go straight to headshots. They could, again, there could have been at all.
Shoulder,
yeah, there's so many other methods. What other culture would allow their people to be slaughtered on the street like animals? And I'm not saying that some of these people, now again, I'm not talking about the ones that are criminal and they're out here doing egregious, terrible things, and the police catch. Again, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the people like Philando Castile or other people. It was 1 or 2 shots for him. It wasn't. So it's a problem. That
I don't think it's the excessiveness in it. But I don't think it's the excessiveness that is the problem. I think it's just the fact of, hey, there could have been 2 different situations. End result was the end result. He got killed. Whether, hey, maybe you didn't pick up the gun, or maybe you did go for the gun. The end result was the end result. So when we're talking about excessive, and even just looking at some of the laws, it's highly illegal. So they were saying the orange tip is for sale of the gun, right? That's for actually selling of the gun. It's highly illegal to have a weapon that looks like a real weapon out on the streets because of situations like this. It's highly illegal.
Yes, it's to prevent these situations. We do have to figure out ways to, like you said, to not put ourselves in these situations. But
if there was even a BB gun to begin with,
right? Yeah,
that's the other part.
In the video, they showed one.
Oh, they did. Did they show it in that he was reaching for? Or did they show it? We just found a BB gun.
Not showing. They found a BB gun inside the video.
Now that's what I have problems with too, because my thing is, now we're talking and sometimes it's masking something. We're talking about the excessiveness of it. Oh, was it excessive? Was there really even a BB gun to begin with? My thing is, we act like things haven't been planted throughout history for Black folks when they've gotten stopped. Maybe he didn't have this at all. We don't know. That's the real question. Is like, hey, did he really have a BB gun on it? Was that really his?
But I think if we go back to that's valid. I will say that we have grown because of previous situations to have skepticism about just the validity of a report from one side. And again, I say we're not talking about all law enforcement. We're talking about certain situations. I will say excessiveness is if you're trained to shoot, if you have to go through classes, you have to pass, certain levels, be able to pull from the hip, do all, these targets. And I understand that their targets are like around center mass. You get bonus, the target is around the middle of the chest. I think that they need to be able to maybe train that there's other ways to incapacitate a person without killing them. Maybe it's their arm, maybe it's their leg, something to, especially if they're sitting in a vehicle and there's only but so much you can move. Yes, you can have something in your hand, and if someone says gun, and I've heard of these situations where, yes, the police officer is afraid, but also the person being pulled over. We have to let's say that, when I'm pulled over, I'm scared. I've been pulled over walking on a campus when they said they're looking for somebody with an afro, and my hair was short. And I still had to answer some questions because of what we've seen countless years.
I hate that. I've been there. I fit the description, but when I found out what the
It's a
description
traumatic
was,
experience.
it was the description was nothing like, wait, you said somebody who was bald, and this when I had locks, but they gave me a description of somebody who was bald and light skinned. That's not me. What are we doing? Well, what are you doing in this area this time of night? Oh my God.
And let's say when we're scared, we're
messed up.
going to do something that maybe like whatever the training is, we've got to just, rehearse, do whatever in order to make it home. But there's certain things we also need not to put ourselves out in danger. If you have a BB gun, you have any type of gun and you're not supposed to have it, don't take it. If you got to take it with you, have it separated. But the talk
You're not supposed
again,
to have it outside the house, period, though. That's the thing. When we're talking about protection and all these other particular things, but okay, yeah, you go ahead and then take it outside the house for protection, but you also have to understand that there's a risk of consequence that comes with this of having it out there, and that could be a consequence of somebody thinking that this is a real weapon and you lose your life because they think it's a real weapon. Not about it being excessive or anything like that, but just that you can lose your life because people think that this is a real weapon.
what was it, that young boy? Was it in Ohio? Yeah, where he was a BB gun, waving it around. There's so many instances. When will we stop putting ourselves in unnecessary? There's already danger outside once we walk out the door. Why are we adding to it? So my question, and we've had all that, is this. Do you think the talk, and we'll go over the talk for those who don't know about it, is it still applicable as it is today, or does it need to be updated? Because most of the time the talk was if you got pulled over, you keep your hands. I think one time I got pulled over, it was cold. It was about 20 degrees outside. I rolled down all of my windows. I turned on every interior light. I kept my hands on the steering wheel at, 10 and 2. I answered every question, yes, sir. Didn't matter how cold it was. I was not moving until I was told to move. Is that still relevant today, or do we need to update it to include some other stuff? Because we're seeing a lot of people who, probably had that talk.
The talk is big. The talk is bigger than just going outside. Yes, the talk will forever need to be updated, just like what applied in our parents' generation had to be updated for us, and just like we update it for our children, because now we have social media and those forms of threats, like what you have in your phone can and will be used against you. So those pictures,
Exactly.
and And I could go on and on. So there's things that you can incriminate yourself without you even knowing, and these young people don't know that. So no, these talks have to be had, because I've even reminded my kids. Well, now I got one that's over 18, but they can search him and take him and talk to him without my permission. But the other kids, I remind them, nope. Call if you get picked up, call your parent, call us, because we coming and we let us help you deal with this. But the talk is always something that will have to be updated, because the world is forever changing. Situations are forever changing. The laws are forever changing. Until we do a better job at also policing our own communities, we will have to rely on others who don't necessarily have the same level of care. It's just a job for some people. I would love to tell you that everybody who comes into a classroom or comes on the street and there used to be officers that walk the beat or came out on the street. They at least got to know people, but now these officers, it's a job for some. I get out here, I do.
Yeah. But here's the thing, man. How we expect some people, how we expect another people to have respect for us when we barely damn near have sex? I mean, we damn near have respect for, damn near have respect for ourselves when we're talking to each other. How do we expect people to respect somebody else of authority when we can't even smile at each other and say, hey, how you doing, without it being an issue, without it being a problem? We want people to respect us, this and the third. We don't respect ourselves and I'm not saying that's everybody, but for the majority of young cats out here, you can't smile at them and say, hey, how you doing, brother? What you looking at, man? You ain't my brother. What you want? That's how it is.
Yeah, they're
But we
already
want them
on edge.
They are already on edge. So how is it that we're expecting other people to think a certain way about us when we're not even thinking that way about ourselves at this point in time? We can't even talk to ourselves. We
Well,
can't even we go ahead.
Well, I think it started early in the home. Back when, we can either say, crack, the war on drugs that was separating families, and grandmas were taking care of kids, and then when the parents came home, the kids really didn't respect them because, like, well, you didn't raise me, grandma raised me, and as long as I'm around grandma, I'm going to do right. But once grandma's gone, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And then you had those that may have watched their siblings go through that and have kids like that, was like, well, I'm not going to allow anyone else to talk to my child, to try to correct my child. It's going to be me. You didn't have this child. You didn't birth him. You didn't do all this stuff. And you got people in the community trying to say, hey, I'm just looking out for you. I'm just looking out for your child. I remember growing up and, I was in a small environment, church, probably there 7 days a week. But there was people that could hold me accountable. People that, I saw my teachers 5 days a week at school, and then I saw them on church on Saturday. I might see some people on Sunday. All of these people knew who I was, knew who my parents were. My parents knew who they were, and my parents trusted them because everyone wanted their children to succeed. Now there's so much.
Yeah, them days are gone, man.
That's
them
called
days, I don't know if they ever gonna come back. That's gone. That's gone.
Yeah.
Gotta have hope that it'll come back, man. We have to.
Well, you want to bet money?
No.
You want to put some money on that?
I like my money.
Yeah, because exactly.
I
You
like
like your
my
money because you know realistic. You can have hope, but you also can be realistic too.
I can be realistic.
The way things are going, the way things are going. Come on, now.
But if we don't have hope, then why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are we even right now even talking about this message unless we had hope and that we could believe that one person, there might be one person maybe watching right now, share and like to your friends, or maybe they're watching later on. We've got to still have these conversations because there's someone out there that has a reach that we don't have.
Say that my hope is not that it goes back, because again, I'm more pessimistic like Steve. I don't see it returning to what it was.
My hope is just Jesus come back and call
what I will say is that I don't want it to get as bad as it can be. So even if it's a smaller modified version of what was, because I grew up in a neighborhood where like literally everybody knew for blocks. Everybody knew people and the kids' kids. Like it was. that doesn't exist anymore. But now, even if it's not as big of a community, if it's a smaller unit, and I got to go out and find people who I trust in my village, who also identify with the same thinking and the same appreciation of life and moral focus. I would like to look for those people to be a part of my village so that they can support me. I love having.
Let me know when you find it, because I'll move there. I'll move there too.
Well,
you need to move somewhere where you can have a neighbor. How about that?
Right, because your neighbor's like 10 miles away. No, I like the fact that,
and that's the most peace I've ever had.
I love the fact that I could walk out my door, and if my kids are somewhere doing something or somewhere they're not supposed to be, my phone will ring. Because the small village I have, they pay attention and they will know. I mean, again, they love me enough to say, "What is your son supposed to be over here? Well, I thought your daughter does. Your daughter have school?
How old are they, Keith? How old are they, Keith?
The people who do
Those
it.
People.
They're of all my village of all ages. I got people in their 60s, 70s, people in their 20s. I got some teenagers who look out again. Some of these are from the church. Because again, these systems, you don't just land in. You got to go look for some of these places. And you don't always assimilate to every place. It takes time. It takes dealing with frustrating people. A lot of churches got some people that we love, but they also got some people that get on our nerves. Jesus, help us. But that's part of family. And if you build these relationships with these people, you can tell them. Because again, I have some people I'm okay talking. If my son was in the hallway, let's say he's skipping class and he has school, and another parent happens to be at the school and see my son, I am okay with you telling, hey, Caden, you need to go to class. Oh, I'm gonna talk to your dad. I'm gonna let your dad know where you were. I would be okay with that 100%. Because
I'd be upset if they didn't tell me and they knew and they saw.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, I mean, do you care about it?
And I've said that to people. So you saw me, you ain't say, did I do something to you?
But that's my gripe with all of this, though. My thing is that it's about accountability, right? Us as a community having accountability. Why is this a conversation, or we feel a certain way about this when the police does it? But for this one, I don't know how many has happened, in the span of, this particular incident versus a month. From what I've been told, from what you've told me, Bryant, hey, this the one that you brought up. But I guarantee you, throughout the month, there's been over at least probably 20 of us killing each other. Ain't nobody having no conversations about that. Ain't nobody talking about that. But when they kill us, maybe this one time out of this month, and I'm not going to say that this is going to be the only time, or it has been the only time, then we want to talk and we want to have a conversation. But there's no conversation when we're killing each other, or we're killing each other at funerals, or we're killing each other at school, or we're killing each other at the club. And that's all that's been on the news here. Countless killing each other every single day on the news. But then when the one time a cop kills us, even if it's wrong, even if it was completely wrong, we want to have discussions. Where's the discussion that we're killing each other?
It's selective rage.
Selective outrage.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. We need,
and that's where I said that accountability for us as a village. Don't just talk about what they doing to us. Talk about what we doing to each other too.
Absolutely.
Because again, this would not happen in any other race. It wouldn't happen in any other race. Yeah, right. You think somebody Jewish or somebody is any other race would be okay with this? It won't happen. They wouldn't stand for it at all.
Yeah, because they're not fighting over limited resources. They're not fighting over, like if only 5 of us can get out of the community, people are fighting to do that. Because they don't want to.
Man, that's a whole nother discussion, man. Because
it is.
Look, so you really think a lot of people just fighting to get out of the community? I mean, get out of certain places? Because I know a whole hell of a lot of people that just want to stay where they are.
I was gonna say I know some fighting to stay in. They don't want to change.
Exactly. They fight to stay.
They are.
It's because that's all they know.
But yeah,
it's all they know.
It's all they know.
It's all they think that they can receive. So, I mean, when there was this, what was it, during the 90s, even early 2000s, when you would ask a lot of young black men, their life expectancy. It was 25. It was 25. That's
Brian,
all
that's
they
not
saw.
you can't use that as an excuse anymore. We have devices and things that can show us the entire universe that we know it as.
Well, I know, but what are we using? But what are we using it for? What are we using those devices for?
Yeah,
you 100% right, but we know
they're not using it for that.
But you're right. But you know what you can use it for, though, right? Just like what are people using guns for?
Do they really know?
They're not using.
Do they really know?
Then you're making black people to be very stupid.
I'm not,
because if you're gonna sit there and tell me that people really think that they don't know that they can look up other stuff other than just this nonsense. Come on now. Come on, people select what it is that they want to do. What they want.
I think there's a difference between know and the application. You're asking me, are they aware of it? Yes, I can say aware, but know is the application of knowledge. That is actually putting it into place. If it is not ingrained, if it is not a part of their habit.
Because there are a lot of people who knew that they could go to college, like in our age. Once Bill Cosby came out with a different world, it changed the perception of knowing that we can go into college, but actually seeing it.
Like, because there was colleges before.
Yeah, there was
colleges. But then all of a sudden, if there was a Hillman would have beat out Howard.
Once we were able to see that this is something that we could obtain, then college enrollment for black colleges went up drastically. So they're even having that device in their hand or having these devices, it doesn't mean that they're going to search after the knowledge that would change their life. They will, if you grew up in squalor and filth, you're going to continue to look for squalor and filth until somebody shows you that there's more. And that there's more to just chasing money. And even when you chase money, there's better ways to do it than on the streets because it's changing now. A lot of the rappers aren't even talking about the drug culture anymore. It's becoming old and played out because it's really not that lucrative like people think it is. I mean, unless you out there doing something really big, but if you're on a corner and then they got weed dispensaries now, so selling weed, like if you in that culture and that life, it's not even the money that it used to be. So it's pointless. So now they're looking at other ways. So there are some who do get these devices and they do explore, but for the most part, most of us have things like you said. Most of us.
So wait a minute. You telling me that there's the majority. Let's just say not even the majority. Let's just say 49% of people in these situations have no idea that there's other ways that you can make money and get up out the hood. That's what you're telling me?
We're not saying that they don't have the idea. They don't have the ability to apply it because they haven't seen anyone else in their vicinity
I'm not saying putting it into action, but they don't have the idea that there's a better way of doing something other than what they're doing to get money and get out the.
Let's look at, I watched a documentary the other day about Florida and how Florida is a football state. Especially in the Miami area, I think 4 of the top 10 high schools in the country in football are in Florida because some of these kids only believe that their only way out is via sports. Now, they got cell phones. They have access to public schools, libraries, the internet, all that stuff, but they feel like their only way out
is sports.
Is sports.
For us, it was sports and entertainment as well. Or sport. You gonna grow up to be a rapper or play sports?
Y'all almost had me say something, boy. Let me stop.
Say it.
Let me. No, you don't want me to say what I say because if that's the only way that you feel like that you can get out of here,
give me Thanos glove.
Boy, don't have me start. Please don't have me start.
But it's the reality. What I told you this. What gets celebrated in most cultures growing up? You didn't get celebrated for the spelling bee. You didn't get celebrated for the science fair. You got celebrated when you played a sport in your house. Everybody went to see your games or talked about how you gonna make it to the league. And when you didn't, you were the biggest
selling out tickets to the science fair.
Yeah. Nobody was propping you up when you did something academic. We are trying to shift because now we are seeing how hard it is and almost damn near impossible to even make it post college, post high school for most. And I mean, the further up you go, that it gets more and more narrow.
So why do we have a revelation then of what is all possible then when we get to jail? All of a sudden now we just all know all the answers. And when we get to jail, then we just have seen the light. We find Jesus, we find academics, we find
You want to know why?
everything that we should have been doing out there. Because but y'all said that there's no they don't know. They don't know. But
Yes,
now all of a sudden
because the distractions are gone.
they
There it
ain't
is.
seen no better.
The distractions are gone.
But they haven't seen any better.
But
they haven't seen no better.
everything
in
that
jail.
everything that they know that was outside of jail, they don't have access to inside. The only thing they have inside is time and books and whatever else is going on in there.
But you said that they haven't seen anything better. You ain't seen nothing better in jail. You ain't seen nothing better in jail. You just seen what's inside that building.
They have not seen it in their community. So if you do not see it,
and they still don't see it.
You cannot believe that you can.
And that's why some of them come back. But there are some that do. They find
now they see the light.
They do because they get up under somebody who's teaching them. Or they see somebody else who's doing better. Hey, what did you do? Malcolm X did the same thing. Malcolm X went to jail, got with the Nation of Islam, and saw that they were doing things a certain way, and so he changed. He started following. So a lot of that has not changed. A lot of guys get there, and they do get exposed to either some
because you're put in a different environment.
Okay, here's the thing. Right. Here's what happens when we've had people that were homeless and have been given money and been given housing and everything like that. And guess what? Guess what they choose to do? They choose to go right back on their streets. And you know what we call that? We call that severe mental illness.
Yeah, it's recidivism. If your entire community, the community you grew up in, is in a struggle,
self-determination.
You are going to go back to it because that's where all of your resources are. That's where all of your connections. That's where you feel comfortable.
I used to help these guys. I call it self-determination because I had a guy tell me, I just don't want the responsibility of dealing with an apartment and the bills and all of that. He was like, I'll keep a spot. And it was like the motels. Like in Michigan, when it got cold.
That's what I want y'all. And that's what I wanted y'all to say. Because half of these people out here, again, don't want to do this. They don't want to do this stuff. They want to stay
but
where
it
they're
doesn't mean that we stop trying to push for it. And I think one of the things that we need to do, and you mentioned it, you both, like, we need early intervention in grade school, showing these kids that, it can really happen.
Right.
Investing in them. I understand.
Right.
I'm
telling you. I'm telling you right now. It's a whole different human being out here, Bryant.
Yeah,
you go ahead and do that for 1 year and come back and tell us how you feel. Tell us how you feel.
He gonna be doing a year or two if he go teach at the school.
Exactly.
I was married to a teacher. I was an unofficial aide. I was an unpaid aide. I mean, I get it. Not every child might get it, but you don't. You got to still offer it. It ain't not every child. Okay. All right.
Fair East Side.
You know what? Just go ahead and play the song. Heal the world, make it a better place. Just go ahead and play it. Just go ahead and play it.
I've got to hope.
Just go ahead and
I've got
play
to put in because I've got somebody that's got to go through it. I have a son. He is 11.
You surely do.
And I've got to do whatever I can to pour positivity, so much so that the negativity that's out there waiting for him cannot fill in any space. So I have to go in with this hope. I know that there for him, but also know that he can influence, he can be around other people, and I'm hoping that his light shines stronger. I have to. If I don't, then I might as well homeschool. I might as well keep him in such a protective bubble that when he gets out into what we call the real world, he'll be antisocial. He'll, and we don't need that. We need more positive individuals going into this world. At some point, these young people that we're talking about that do not have access to these resources, to these positive community environments, they're going to be the ones taking care of us.
I have my bank account set up.
You gotta go to that money going to a bank, and that person gonna be working at that bank.
No, ain't none of them gonna be working at no bank, bro. No, bring to that
Come
bank
on
at.
now. We gotta
Bro,
we gotta
we
hold
can't
out
read.
hope.
No. See, you being oblivious to what it
I'm
is.
not
You need to go
oblivious.
into
I'm not
some of these
oblivious.
schools and talk to some of these kids that can't read. It's far beyond just giving hope at this point. It's far beyond giving hope.
I
It's
said
far beyond giving
it
hope.
starts with hope and then action. I'm not naive. My wife worked in DC public school systems. And even though she worked with kids with autism, I had to see all the other kids in the public school. I had to drive. We put our son in a small private school that was in a predominantly Black area in Southeast, had to struggle in order to get him to school. And our reasoning for it is so that he doesn't, even though we're middle class, he doesn't see that he's better than someone else. I had to understand that I'm not better than anyone else. I just had better situations.
But wait a minute, hold on, Brian. How many people you want to see make it? How many children you want to see make it?
As many as possible.
As many as possible.
Impossible, bro. Impossible.
No, that's not
as many as
I didn't say everyone. As many as possible.
That's not
I said as many as possible.
You said no.
I said people want to hear everybody, but no, it's as many as possible.
We always go with our first answer. Our
so you want no one?
Our real answer.
So you want no one?
I didn't say no one.
I said as
under
many
the
as
impression
possible.
that everybody is going to make it.
We can go back over the tape, and I'm going to say you want everyone, as many as possible. I know everybody's.
The reality is there's no 100% to any community with anything. So we wouldn't expect everybody to see the light, but as many as possible that can be impacted and be changed. And if it's only one person, sometimes that one person is the next person that may impact thousands or millions.
Why do you think the iron table is here?
Biblical. Well, it's not going to help the kids. It's not for the kids. Something biblical got to happen to these kids. It's a whole different beast out here, man. It's a whole different beast out here. I know that, the way that we grew up and how things were. And I would just say it's been a whole different beast since COVID. That's a whole different animal in of itself right there. That's a whole different human being that's grown up to where they're talking about these kids that have graduated that are COVID kids for high school still can't read. Can't read. They can't communicate on books.
The people that we hold accountable are the adults, the parents, and we implore them to do more and do better. If they choose to do it, cool. If they don't, that's on them. But we who know better, who has seen better, who has been through bad and got to better, if we just hold it amongst ourselves, we are no better than any other system that is meant to oppress our people. I'm not being naive. I'm being optimistic. And I know what you're saying. That in certain situations, it seems like a lost cause. But there is a statement that I live by. Oh, okay. Then educate me, because I want to say this, that even the light from the smallest candle is stronger than the darkness around it.
And if you tell a kid that right now, he gonna look at you like, man, what the hell are you talking about, bro? They ain't trying to hear that.
You explain it just like you would with anything else. Because just because they don't understand it don't mean you give up on them, or just because they got an attitude don't mean you ignore them. Because sometimes that is their way of expressing their pain.
But that's my thing, right? We're explaining and we're putting out all this stuff, this, that, and the third. And we're putting out so much energy that we're losing sight on our own household, our own family, our own community that we know that work. At a certain point in time, you have expended so much energy into things that just are not going to work. And it just is what it is. God didn't say that there's going to be everything on here is going to get better. What do you say? Well, maybe I'm wrong. Keith, didn't he say things won't get worse?
Biblically, yes.
Okay.
And even with the poor, the poor will be with you always.
It's going to get worse. So my thing is that we're at a
but
certain
does it have
point
to
of time,
get worse for everybody? Because if we don't have any hope and we don't inspire the sections that we live in, then it all goes bad. And everything doesn't have to be bad with everyone. I agree. I believe sometimes we burn out. There's a lot of people right now, as you know, working at jobs that are dead end that they hate, that are not paying them, and it's a means to an end. They're not meant to spend their entire lives in this position. But then there are
And
people who,
I'm glad that you say that, because you speak what I'm really trying to say is that you're talking about all these ideals, you're talking about all this hope, but you're talking about things that have to exist in a system that does not work. So it's all fine and dandy, and it feels good and fuzzy to have all this hope and all all this stuff. But if we exist in a system that does not work, what is the point of it? There has to be more or less not talking about hope, but more or less about, okay, let's change this system to work for us.
And that starts with what?
Yes, that right.
What does that start with?
Hope.
That ain't no hope.
That is hope.
That's not no hope.
That's the epitome of hope. That is the epitome of hope. Why start a system if you don't believe in it?
No, I don't believe in this system. This system doesn't work.
I say the system. Okay. I'm saying start. The reason why the Black Panther movement worked is because it was our system working for us. It was going well. It was doing what it was supposed to do. We weren't dependent on the man. So it was sabotaged because of how well it was doing. So the system, yes, none of us depend on that, the one that it currently exists. But we have to move differently in order to impact differently. This again, we can't, you're right. We can't just talk to these kids the same way we were talked to because they speak a different language. So, but if we don't learn how to communicate, then because
it's almost as if it feels good to say that I want things to get better, but it takes a whole different approach to have an understanding that things aren't going to get better. And that's when you start being real with yourself.
For everyone. Because there are people things will get better for. Things are better for us than they were for our parents.
What if the system wanted us to have this conversation and walk away with that thought where it will never get better. It will always get worse.
It's like that a lot though. I mean, in fairness, it does feel like that a lot.
Then we say Jesus. We said Jesus said that though, right?
Yeah, the whole world is going. This world will end, but it doesn't have to end as bad as it could be if people were to give up. And I'm saying, don't give up. Yes, you got to have some hope. Yes, there has to be application. I don't believe everything that we're going to do at this point is going to work for everybody, but it's meant to work for somebody. We don't know who that person's going to be. We may never meet that person, but we put it out there and they will come and it will find them, or they will find it.
When Babylon came and got the 3 Hebrew boys, and I know this is not now, but it is now. When he took them into captivity, and he put them amongst his own people, that they were so ingrained with doing the right thing and knowing what it's like to live on a higher level that they changed the atmosphere around them. They changed the diet in the palace based on how he saw. So you guys do this and move this way and eat this, and they were able to impact the people around them. Once upon a time, our people were about positively impacting the world around them. And because other entities know how powerful we are as a people, our culture has been hijacked. When I say culture, I mean our music, our fashion. Yeah. We are a people of power. And that's why I believe that once we rediscover who we are and we learn how to improve off of that, yes, I have hope that we will have a better resolve. Yes, there will always be people who want to see us hurt. Tulsa, Oklahoma is a perfect example of we doing our thing and others outside entities, again, the system decided they didn't like it. So there are always going to be people who look to tear us down, as well as ourselves. Like you said, we are crabs in the barrel sometimes. We are those rotten apples that don't want to see other apples, succeed. So there's a lot of things at play, but we have to continue to have the hope that things will not always be, even with the obstacles, we're going to rise because that's what we do. And the moment
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Has God ever had an instance in history where he didn't have hope anymore? Just
Yeah.
Okay.
And he
One
said he
time
wouldn't do that again.
was there another time where he didn't have hope?
Fire next time.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah?
But that was an isolated incident. That wasn't everybody.
You're right. But there was it the majority? How many people made it out of Sodom and
3.
Gomorrah? 3 out of how many?
3. But the reason they were, but still, Hope got 3 people out.
All I gotta
The
say is
behavior got 3 people out.
Even God got tired.
We not saying not to get tired.
You're saying to have hope. You said always just have the hope.
Hope does not mean that you're not tired.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't get tired. It doesn't mean that you give up.
You will get tired. But you don't get defeated.
God knew what needed to be done. Like I said, something biblical has to happen for there to be some change. And I'm not talking about, and I guess that's me. My problem is, I don't
think it's a problem. I think we need to have that viewpoint in order to get to where we want to go.
No. I'm saying for me, it's a problem when I'm talking about, like, I really didn't do, I did well with macro social work, right? Where it's not like, hey, you know what? I'm able to affect 1 or 2 or 3 people and I feel good or whatnot. I had a problem with just 1 or 2, and I just see the overall picture where there's certain things that can be done that can affect everybody. But what I'm saying is that the system and everything that we live in right now is it's I'm not going to say impossible because that absolute, but it's a failing grade at this point. It's not going to get.
But that's what I guess
anybody.
We have to then answer the question: what is failing? I don't think it's out of our hands. I don't think it's out of our hands. If it was out of our hands, then we might as well just give up. I'm not trying to save the entire world. I'm trying to just get to one. No, I'm not.
Jesus didn't. Yeah.
At some point, somebody gonna stop teaching.
Because even Jesus had a philosophy.
But all I had to do was teach one person. I did my job.
If they, I'm gonna go. I mean, even the disciples, we're gonna go into this town. If they receive us, so be it. If they don't, we're gonna shake the dust off our sandals and go to the next spot. It wasn't we gonna stay until they, every last soul in this place is converted. Because even Jesus, everybody who met Jesus didn't believe. Everybody who came into contact with greatness throughout history wasn't always a believer.
And they might have not believed at that moment. Maybe 5 days later. We don't know. But what I'm saying is we should still go out and try.
You're right. I just don't think that people are as naive as you think they are. When we're saying that people just don't know, or just because they have not witnessed it full-hand that these things exist, I don't
think you think people are smarter. I think you think people are smarter than some of these people are smarter than they are.
So y'all think they dumber than what they are.
I don't think they're dumber. I think
they smarter. You don't think they?
I think they are less exposed and less aware of things that we think they should know. It's like it's assuming like everybody in 4th grade knows basic math because in 4th grade, all the generations before knew how to read and knew basic math. This generation, after COVID and after the education system has gone to complete chaos and hell, they don't know. So I can't just assume that because you in the 4th grade now that you know how to read and you know how to do basic math.
So then, full circle. Then let's just go back to that scenario. You mean if the situation arose where this gentleman had a BB gun and he reached for his BB gun, do you feel like he knew that if I reach for this BB gun, I could die? You feel like he knew that?
In a moment of panic, I would say no. Because even when you do know the law, a lot of people when they're
that's outside the law. That's outside the law where we're If you pick up a weapon and pick up a weapon towards a police officer, what do you think gonna happen?
If you point a weapon toward, I thought you just meant if he just driving in the car.
No, but
if he points it at a police officer,
I said that's if that situation happened where he reached for the weapon
and he pointed it at the officer.
You telling me that he didn't know no better? And you telling me that he didn't know no better? Even if he just grabbed the weapon in that situation.
I'm not saying any of that. We don't know what was going through that person's mind. What we can say is, don't leave the house with a gun. We can say that. Because we say that if you don't have
But here's the thing. What if he's not been told that? What if he ain't been told that? What if he's not been exposed to that? You're telling me he still didn't know? You're telling me that somebody knows that, hey, this is probably, you're telling me out of all these things that he did, that when somebody took out a BB gun and they don't have everybody knows about a license to carry, right? Or you telling me he didn't know that? He's not exposed to that?
There's a lot of people who probably know and still carry.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you know something.
But I'm saying, because you know something, also you're leaving yourself open to the consequence. You don't think that he didn't think that was a consequence? That could be a possible consequence if I have this gun and if I reach for it with all these cops drawing down on me, that there's a possibility that they start shooting.
And that's if that
was the situation.
We don't know.
I'm saying if that's the scenario. I'm only saying that scenario because of just talking about the aspect of people knowing better, even though they're not exposed to certain things. That's what I'm saying.
I can say we know not to carry a gun. We know not to reach for a gun. We can say all of this stuff until we're in that moment. In that moment, anything could happen. Maybe he thought he's not here to speak for himself. Maybe he thought, like, if I get this, every other situation where I needed to carry this got me out of, pointing this got me out of it. Maybe if I do that, it may get me out of it. Don't know. Not there.
But that's the whole point of the talk. That's the reason why the talk is so important, because we have jobs as therapists. Sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, you tell people stuff that they already know about themselves. They just need, or they say it and you just reverb it back to them, and then they further process. So sometimes you have to ask the question: Is it a good idea for you to take the orange part off that gun? Is it a good idea for you to carry it around? Because again, certain streets are dangerous, and he probably has had to use it or show it to keep himself safe. I don't know. I'm not going to make up speculate on why he had it, because I don't know. The reality is, like you said, by making certain decisions, it potentially with anyone can potentially with anyone put ourselves in a place that we didn't want to be, and so 100%. And that's the problem, because it might not have been with the police. It could have been with some guys in the neighborhood who decide to jump, and they see a gun. And just like with anybody, if I see a gun,
I'm opposed.
I'm not right.
Second to get away.
Right. So there are guys who've been jumped. There are guys who've been shot just because another guy brandished a gun, and it's not right. It's not okay. But again, it's not illegal either to have a gun. But what we do with that gun?
Oh no, but no, Keith, it is illegal. It is illegal. It's illegal to have a BB gun. It's illegal to have
it is illegal.
It is illegal. I mean, that's what I looked up earlier. They said that the orange tip is for the sale of the firearm, because it's to signify this is fake. But if you take it off, even if you purchase one that does not have one, if you have a gun that is a BB gun that resembles a real gun outside of your house, that's a problem. It's highly illegal. It's not just illegal. It's highly illegal.
I said having one. Now modifying it, yes. Modifying it, but having a BB gun, not illegal. I don't see.
No, not at all.
The ownership is not illegal. The ownership use of it in certain areas is illegal. I agree on that. The question that is, why does a person feel like they need to have one in those situations out? Yeah. And so one day we'll talk about that.
Me and Keith was just talking about that too. Just talking about it.
Sure, because if you're in that type of environment where you feel like you need that in order to protect yourself, that environment likely is not an environment that promotes getting out in the millions of ways you can get out, other than the 2 or 3 that is our society or the media says this is your ticket out of struggle, which happens to be sports or entertainment.
And it's sad too, because again,
It
even
is.
if there's so many people that,
That's why
again,
I'm
like I said
saying
before,
hope for early intervention.
they glorify this, man. They want
Yeah.
this. There is no regard for their own life. They want this is what they want. It's a badge of honor sometimes to go to
we
jail.
have not said that other things are successful. We have changed what we view is success. Success has been tied to having, 6 numbers behind a comma, being in the millions. And the quickest way to get to that, again, is sports or entertainment. Nobody's about the long game anymore.
It would
No
be
one's
a very
about establishing.
It would be a very interesting survey to give to people, to ask them about their concept of making it and getting out of poverty, the hood, whatever you want to call it, to see if they truly do know that it's other ways outside of what they're doing to get out of their struggle. I think you would be very surprised. Or I could be 1,000% incorrect on this, but I think that it would be very interesting survey to pose to people about, their ability to assess what it is they can do to get out of, their situation, the hood, whatever you want to call it. Because I think that you're not giving people quite the credit that they probably, I think that people are much smarter than what they're putting on. I think a lot of people do know there's other ways to do stuff. Hey, I know I don't have to be a football player or a basketball player or a rapper or hell, an influencer to be successful. This just looks more glamorous and I want to go this way. They know it's other ways to do this. They just choose not. But I think it'd be very interesting just to kind of get a idea of what people's ideas, because we can sit here and speculate all day of what people, but it would be cool to kind of get that, in a what they call scientific method, as they say.
We can always try to send out a survey. I can put it on our Facebook page, and
because I think people smart and y'all think people dumb.
I don't. Let's get this right. I don't think people are dumb. Let's get this. Don't try to spin it. Please don't try to spin it that way. No. What we said is that while people might know to have the resources and the access to make it a reality, makes it almost impossible to even, or pointless to try. So that's why I believe in early intervention, that if we as a community can start changing the narrative and holding other things more accountable, more glorious or glamorous than the limiting of sports, because there's only but so many spots on a team.
And they all don't get open.
As far as so many roles in movies and TV.
They all don't
and
open
if
up every
everybody is doing influencing, we're all talking about the same thing. So there's no new topic under the sun that somebody can do that no one else has done. It just depends on how charismatic, how shock value you go. We've got to value just and I'll say the regular success. We've got to change the narrative and what success is. All right, fellas, we've been on for this has been pretty good. I mean, Danny has missed out.
I want to stay on because I don't like that you calling people stupid. I don't like y'all smart, my black people. Y'all are very smart.
I'm putting this up here now. Parting words and final thoughts. And Steve, if you say that we're calling people stupid, that is not your final thought. That is not your parting word. You need to come out with that same stuff that you do when you on camera. Don't try to put,
God
come up with
good.
something.
God is great.
Are you singing Grace?
You said come up with something good.
Because he said God is good,
But
God is
no,
good.
I just think that, man, we got to do, because that would be saying I have a,
Yeah,
we got,
come on with it.
we gotta be better. And when I say be better, we can't, I don't know, man. I want us to do better. Reality with things that how things are going on again, I'm leaving it up into God's hands right now because it is really bad. But going back to what we were talking about, the initial talk, I think that talk definitely has to be had with everybody, and not just young people, but older people too. And it shouldn't just stop at what to do if a cop stops. Okay, what to do when we're in court, what to
Yes.
do when any of these situations arise, where whatever that you do is literally life and death. Whatever you do can be life or death. So I think that talk definitely needs to be had. Gun laws. I work with somebody that's in Michigan that talks about, the title of her, excuse my French, but it's called How Not to Be a Dumbass Criminal. You know, it's teaching you law. It's teaching you the law. Hey, no, you can't have a
You need to invite her.
BB gun out.
She would love to come.
She love to come
Well, then
on.
y'all need
She
to
would love
invite
to
her.
come on.
She love to come on. But it's teaching you the law, so that way you have an understanding. Like, oh, you know what? Somebody come in my house, if I shoot them and they're running, I go to jail. And that's just maybe that's just a chance I take. But I can't do these particular things this way because this is the law, and the law doesn't care about your feelings. The law doesn't care about, oh, I thought this or I felt that. The law is in black and white, and they will give you biblical time for some of this stuff, or they'll take.
Or both. Give you the time and then take your life.
Oh yeah,
Okay. All right. Bishop.
No, I'm not going to say that. What I will say is this. Kind of piggybacking off of what Steve said. The talk, or what I said earlier, the talk is just broader than what to do with police. It's always been part of our culture. It's what you do when you go down south. It's what you do when you go in certain restaurants and certain places, communities that we are not welcomed in. Well, these talks are bigger than just police. Unfortunately, we live in a world we have to be aware that we are not safe everywhere. So that, to me, that's more reason to make it safer where we are. And we have the power to control that. That's up to us. Again, that's why I said I'm not against police. In fact, if I have somebody in my neighborhood breaking in my car, I call the police to keep our neighborhood safe. You can call me a snitch if you want, but my goal is to have a neighbor. My goal is to have a neighborhood where I don't have to worry about people breaking in my car, stealing stuff, and so my preference, again, I'm okay with even policing ourselves. If even if it was my child doing something out of the way, call me, tell me, I get them, and it will fix it. But my point is this: the talk has to be bigger. Social media, like I said, is now on that list, and it's a major reason that also gets us all caught up. Because, like I said, I talk to a lot of young people who don't even know that they have illegal material on their phones or in their possession, and just the possession of it. But possession and distribution of these things will have you locked up again for a long time. And like Steve said, we don't get the slap on the wrist or do better, do better next time. We get that again. Our community gets that biblical time, as Steve said. So my hope is that we will learn to love each other more, love to appreciate each other more, to help each other more. We have a lot of healing to do, individually and collectively. I mean, I don't feel like that's going to happen on the mass scale, but where, like you said, but where we can, we should, and we need to. That's the only way any type of change is gonna happen.
All right. I mean, kind of hard to say anything after that. So I just want to thank Steve and Keith for having that tough discussion. This is probably one of the first times on camera that we have not agreed all the way around, but we needed to have, this
It's not my
conversation.
fault that you think.
Wait a
It's
minute,
not
whose
my
time is
fault
it?
that you
Whose
think.
time is it? You
It's
had your
not my
time.
fault.
You had your
It's not my
time.
fault you
No,
think
it's
they
you.
stupid. I think they.
I'm not going into that, but no, seriously, we as a community need to get a little bit more involved respectfully with each other. We need to kind of build a hedge around each other, and not a hedge of just protection, but a hedge that welcomes when people get in and have at least some form of access. Because while we all aren't going to make it, according to Steve, the hope is that we try. And that's all we're talking about, is just trying, have a little hope. Well, this has been the Iron Table, where iron sharpens iron, so should men sharpen men. We're thankful for those that stayed with us for just a little bit longer than normal. And we hope to bring you, truth, accountability with a little bit of humor. But ultimately, again, as we always say, if you need some help, find a professional, talk to a professional. There are some that are free through your job. If you're working, your insurance may have a mental health plan, but you don't need to go at this alone. We've seen what that does, and that's one thing that doesn't work, going at it alone. So talk to somebody. All right. Well, y'all be blessed. Peace.
Serve it straight. Welcome to the